Welcome to the spring real estate market and mortgage update from Greenville Life. I'm John Bowen, and joining me today is Brett Chappell with PRGM and Redbeard Loans. Thanks for joining me today, Brett. So, two questions I get asked about real estate every day is there going to be a housing bubble, and what is the forecast for 2022? So, while nobody has a crystal ball to predict the future, the signs are good that we're not heading for a market crash of any sort. The supply and demand always influences the prices of homes, and right now the inventory is low. Builders are finishing probably about 1.5 million homes per year, but we have a deficit from the National Association of Realtors that says we are $5.5 million homes behind. And then Freddie Mac says it's about 3.8 million homes. I personally think it's about 4.5 million homes behind. So it's going to take a little bit to get this caught up. So the millennials are now entering into the first-time homebuyer market, and since they are the biggest generation, even bigger than the baby boomers, that is one thing that's adding to the stress of inventory. And then everyone is migrating since COVID started to different climates and things like that, and I think that's what's putting the stress on inventory. So what do we think about the housing forecast for 2022? I think housing will remain strong in 2022, maybe not quite as strong as 2021, but it should be almost on par to be equal. And then nationally, home appreciation is up about 16.4%. It may be a little bit more in your particular neighborhood. It could be a little bit less, but that is the average. So demand will be slightly softer due to the rise in interest rates, and that's why we're here to see Brett today. Supply will increase, but it's still going to remain tight. The labor supply chains disruptions for semiconductors and things like that are still playing a big part in why the inventory is low and the builders can't get caught up. And then rents will continue to increase and remain above 5%, pushing many people to see the benefit of buying on that part. So overall, we will see mid to high single digit appreciation, still proving great wealth. So about a year ago, Brett handled the refi on my personal home, and I got a really smashing rate of 2.5%. So I'm sitting here looking at all these rates and listening to people, and I'm guessing rates are probably up around 5%. I try to keep up with it daily, but they do move. So my question to Brett is, where do you think rates are headed, and how is that going to impact the mortgage business and just buyers in general?
Yeah, good. Well, thanks so much, John. Glad to be here with you. Yes, rates, no two ways about it. Rates have been on the rise and moving quickly, specifically this first quarter of 2022. And so as John said, last summer he was able to get a refi at 2.5%, and those were, spectacular interest rates, but held low really artificially by pumping tax dollars into mortgage bonds. And that's what the Fed finally said this year is, hey, not only are we going to pull back and not buy a lot of new mortgage bonds, but we're also going to sell the ones that we have bought over the last few years. So what happens is you've got to drive up the price to bring investors into the market. And similarly, as inflation goes up, rates have to go up with it to eventually slow down that inflation. So rates today, we've moved into the fives, and ultimately that is a good thing for all of us homeowners in bringing stability to the market. And so a rate in the fives is sort of what you might consider normal. Is still a very good interest rate, and there's still a lot of markets where it is still cheaper to be a homeowner than it is to be a renter. And I think if you're watching this video and you're thinking about, am I going to buy now, or am I going to wait, are prices going to go down, I would say one of the most important considerations is to fix your cost of living. And so the opportunity to buy allows you to fix your cost of living. Rent will continue to go up. Our area just has explosive population growth, and as John gave you the numbers, the demand is still there, while maybe slowing a little bit, because if somebody was at the very tip of their qualifying ability and the rate was in the twos or in the threes, and now we're seeing rates up into the fives, well, then you can buy just a little bit less on the price, right? So that may slow demand just a little bit. But the builders, as of February, had their highest request nationally for homes to be built. And so that's really good news. We're building houses, trying to fulfill that, but ultimately housing inventory is still low, and that is good news. It's good news for a buyer. It's good news for a homeowner. And so hopefully we'll bring some stability to the market with rates where they are moving forward.
I've been trying to counsel first-time home buyers that ask me questions. You know, that always is a big question is, should I wait for prices to go down, you know, on that part? But I've been telling people since last year, I think you should be more concerned about the rate more so than the price, because prices will go up and down, but you're stuck with that interest rate for, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 30 years, and either if you're going to refinance down later on that part. And I was thinking about a question I asked you last year, and you gave me a really good explanation when we were doing the appraisal gaps. And I said, why would someone pay $30,000 over asking price for a house when they can? Why would they pay $30,000 over, like, for an appraisal gap? Why wouldn't they just wait and buy a house later? And I know you gave me a really good explanation on that, and it has come true now, because all of the people that paid over last year have more than made that gap up, and they also have some equity coming in. So it's just a crazy market right now, and as a real estate agent, you really have to stay on top of what's going on and what the trends are, so you can best advise your clients on what to do. So what would you recommend to someone that's like a first-time home buyer? What should they really do to get themselves ready to get into the market?
Well, start with you, get an idea of what areas are going for, and then get connected to a mortgage banker like myself, where we can help you analyze loan options and figures, and where your debt load is, and where your income is, and what loan options are available out there, no down, low down, you know, all of these myriad of loan options that are out there. But ultimately, to help you analyze, how much money do I need to buy a house right now in today's market? What are my payments going to be in these different price ranges, you know, that I'm looking in? And ultimately that you're comfortable and confident in the decisions that you're making. I think the most important consideration, especially for a first-time buyer, is fixing your cost of living where you're comfortable. You know, you've got to make a mortgage payment every month. So nobody wants to live on top ramen just so that they can make their mortgage payment. But knowing where you can stretch and where you can, and analyzing all of that up front before you get started, is really, really important. And then as far as kind of rates moving, you know, forward into the future, is that we kind of talked about how the interest rate is really a lot bigger deal than necessarily the price over the last few years. Now, I think that as rates are moving up, we'll see things slow down a little bit. But, you know, the National Association of Realtors says that a normal market is having 6 months worth of inventory, and we've got about 6 minutes worth of inventory.
That's true.
Still. And so, you know, the demand is still high enough that the supply is very low. So you talk about a housing bubble, and our price is going to come back down. And I think we're just ready for some stability in the market. And there's a lot of pent up demand that's going to take a long time to feed through. So I think we're in a really good place, especially here in the upstate of South Carolina.
Yeah, one of my big talking points with buyers when they call me on the phone is, the very first thing I try to do is direct them to a mortgage broker, because I feel like you need to know all of the things that we just talked about, but also that they should get all of their paperwork ready, everything that you need to make your mortgage happen all together, and get it over there. Because when you never know when you're going to find the perfect home, and we have to move so fast now that you really need to be almost approved for your loan if you're going to stand a chance of winning an offer now. So I think the prep work on the front end is probably the most important thing you could do now in order to get a house. So with that being said, we're going to end this today. Keep it short. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and if you have any kind of questions to do with mortgages, reach out to Brett. He is a great, great resource for all things in lending. And once again, thank you guys, and we'll see you next month.